the ethanol plant gave us notice, and it is time for us to now haul in on our shares, meaning we've got a certain amount of bushels to deliver to the plant based on how much shares we actually own, which isn't a whole lot right now. Dad actually sold out of a lot of his shares, and I've never actually owned any personally. So we actually only have 7 truckloads to go, but we're gonna try and get it all done tomorrow. So I'm gonna load up all 3 trucks tonight. We're only gonna have 2 drivers, but I'll load all 3 trucks and then we'll haul it out as quick as we can tomorrow. You can see here we've got an issue with this tarp, the way it's bowed. This should be running straight. The tarp is bad, it needs to be replaced. Our plan is to get that done in the next couple of weeks here. But you can see when I try to go here, we got some real ends over on the other problem. So I'm gonna open it up a little bit more here and climb over to that end and see if I can pull on some stuff and make that work. I'm gonna have to set my camera down so I don't end up down there with my legs pointing the wrong direction or something. You guys think we can patch this? Yeah, me neither. I have concluded that the actual problem is coming from right here. I need to get that off the top of the tarp. The tarp is still ripped back there. Unfortunately, pulling this ice off of there isn't gonna fix that. I couldn't hold the camera up when I did it, but basically I stood on that step ladder behind me and use this thick bristled broom to break up the ice and pull it off the side. Hopefully it works now. That's better, and the hoppers are clean. The next job is not very fun, but it kind of has to be done. My plan is to pull out of this bin here. You can see those vents on top, right? I'm trying to get everything's backwards, right there. Right there's one, there's another one right there. There's vents all the way around that bin that let airflow through the grain when we turn the fans on. Unfortunately, they also allow snow to get up and underneath there sometimes. With the amount of snow we had here a few days ago, I'm gonna climb up there and at least look in to make sure we don't have snow built up or big chunks of ice or anything underneath those vents. Because what will happen if we do is they'll slide down into the center when we start pulling out. They'll slowly make their way down towards the bottom, and they will plug the sump up in this bin, and we won't be able to pull any grain out of here. And then what happens is we have to open up the outside sumps, and it starts pulling unevenly on the bin. You can run into all sorts of structural issues with the bin at that point. So we want to try to avoid that. Here comes the fun. You guys should do that 10 times a day. You'd be in decent shape. Everything was flowing nicely when we shut it off. I am feeling confident enough that I don't need to get in there and walk around. Everything looks pretty good. No signs of wet corn or rotten corn anywhere. I'm pretty sure we're good to go here. The next process is to, one at a time, turn on the motors, the leg, the conveyor, the auger in that bin. Run the corn really slowly as the belts warm up, because these cold belts don't like to flex a lot at first. And you can plug stuff up. And I don't like to work that well in this kind of cold either. The dust is flowing. I'll give that a few more minutes just for those belts to warm up. And then I'll open that bin up a little bit farther. And then eventually, I'll get this bin going so we can load a little more quickly. Pretty dusty standing over on that side. There's just a real gentle wind pulling it into the wrong spot. The downfall is on this side, you got to try and see over the tarp, which is difficult to do when you're loading the trucks heavy. So I think I'll put the next truck in there the opposite direction. That way I can stand over on this side where it's not so dusty to see what I'm loading. Okay, Digi? I'll call that full enough. Would have been convenient if whoever was supposed to move that snow would have moved it a little bit farther north. By the way, that dark colored snow is not soil erosion off of our fields. Most of it's gravel from blowing the snow in the yard underneath me right here. Truck number 2 should be a little bit easier as long as we don't have ice on the tarp or any other unforeseen list of a million problems that could go wrong. Okay, perfect. That'll work for me. Who's home, Didge? Second truck loaded. Truck number 3. Truck 3 is loaded. Well, it's not a real lovely morning. Pretty good southeast wind. Looks kind of foggy. There's a lot of ice on the trees. I'm hoping that the roads are not icy, but I'm gonna get a truck going and out of here. Hopefully get on the roads before Jim gets here so I can see if the roads are icy. If they are, we just won't go. It's not worth it with those trucks to go on the ice. When those things are empty, they're deadly. So, we'll see what we get here.
And President Trump was at the American Farm Bureau Convention yesterday in Louisiana.
Well, I made it. The farther south I went, the more the fog lifted. Here we are. Guessing I'm the first truck of the day. I'm here 8 minutes before they open, but they must be in there anyway because they're probing the truck. I've got an older video that kind of explains what we go through here, but basically right now we are stopped. They probe the truck, check the test weight and the FM to see if we got dirty corn in there, just to make sure we're bringing them a quality corn before we take it back to the pits and dump it. And there, our test weight was 54.4. Moisture's a little dry. 13.6 is drier than we want it. FM is 2, damage is 2. Those are common numbers. Basically saying, I better take the brakes off there. Basically saying, corn's good to go, no issues. Now we move on to the inbound scale. They recorded our inbound weight. I'm not going to show it to you because it's a little heavier than I wanted it to be. And now I will pull back. Can you see me? Now I'll pull back to the pits in the back. Simple as that. This place here has got an impressive pit. It holds a lot of bushels and it moves really quickly. So you can open up the truck and dump it as fast as you can open those hopper bottoms. And onto the outbound scale. This will take our outbound weight here and then divide our net weights up with our test weight to print us out a scale ticket to tell us how many bushels we brought in and what the quality was, date, time, truck, all the information we need. Simple as that. Now we go back home and do it over again. I made it home. Sun is not gonna come out for quite some time, but at least I can see now. Actually, the foggiest part of the drive is right here at home, so it's not as bad as you think it is when you're standing in the yard here. Aw, geez, look at how pretty the trees are. I've had a lot of people ask what the red stuff is that builds up on the ground. Well, that's basically corn dust. Here we call it bees wings. Other farmers in other parts of the US, I guess they call it red dogs or red birds. We call it bees wings. Basically what it is it's the stuff that is underneath the kernel when it's on the cob that holds the kernels into the cob. It kind of grows around the kernels. When you're eating sweet corn, you're eating sweet corn on the cob. You get the stuff stuck between your teeth. That's what that is. But here, it's dried down, so it's flaky and it's dry, versus when you eat corn on the cob, you know, you're eating a super high moisture corn versus this stuff which was dry when we harvested it and we dried it down even more. This is just a different corn, but that is the stuff that gets stuck between your teeth. Locked and loaded before Jim gets back. I'm gonna park this thing off to the side in the yard here. Then when he gets back, he can park his truck underneath the grain leg and take off with this one. Efficiency. 5 to 7, what's your ETA?
Up by Louis Larson's there right now.
10-4, I got this one loaded. I'll just wait for you.
10-4.
I'll just sit in here in the heat, wait for Jim to get back. He can park his truck underneath the grain leg and take off with this full truck. That way we keep him moving, and I'll just load trucks. All right, load 4 on the day. Okay, I got through the probe and the scale. It sounds like Jim is parked in the back here. He's having an issue with the tarp. I don't know what it is, but I'll get back there and we'll see what we got. That's the tarp that's got the rip in it that I was dealing with yesterday, so maybe there's some issues there going on. We'll see what we got. Looks like he's moving now, so maybe you got it figured out. It looks like the tarp is closed. 5 to 7, you get it closed.
Yeah, but she's not in too good a shape.
We're gonna jump trucks anyway here so I can have that one loaded by the time he gets home, so I'll take a look and see exactly what's going on. So according to Jim, what's going on is that back where it's ripped is just coming apart and doubling up when you open it and close it, and it's kind of bowing the pipe that holds the tarp together. So we don't want to damage that pipe because that pipe is still good. We just need to replace the tarp. I'll take this one home. We'll probably grab the white truck since that's loaded anyway, and we really only need to make three more trips, so that's where we're at. Now that's just cool. All right, Jim's gonna take the white truck here, the W900. I'm gonna actually go grab some WD-40 out of the shop and spray the bottoms of the hoppers. The gears are kind of making crunchy noises when we open them up, and they sound like they're a little bit dry and need some lube on them. So I'm gonna squirt those down and hopefully that helps. Throw some grease in the bearings as well. So these gears and bearings underneath here really don't like salty roads. Unfortunately, that's what we get in Minnesota. You can see this one here, when I move it back and forth, does not want to move. And it likes to make disgusting noises. So I'm just gonna spray this stuff down as good as I can. Throw some grease in and some lube in where it needs it. Time to swap trucks with Jim again. That way I can get home and get that one loaded for him. Stop and put a little go-go juice in this rig. Yeah, we got our own diesel barrel at home, but it's pretty icy right now to get down in there. The last thing I want to do is get an empty truck stuck down on that side hill in front of the diesel barrel, so figured I'd stop here and throw some in. Diesel's not that spendy right now anyway. All right, let's fill up this last truck. That's that, I guess. I'm gonna let Jim take that last load because I've actually only got about 15 minutes before I gotta go live on the air on Sirius XM with Rob Sharkey on his show on Rural Radio. So, So I'm gonna go in here and do that while Jim takes that truck, but that should fill this contract for now, our obligations down there. Thanks for watching, guys. Anybody want a rocking chair? We got a Victory for sale as well. Let me know.